The key to brain power is language, and the key to language power is phonetic reading. In this series of videos, you will learn to read effectively by the Blumenfeld method. Hello, my name is Sam Blumenfeld, and what I am about to do will change your life forever and make it possible for you to achieve the career you want. I am going to teach you to read in a way that is simple and effective, a way that will increase your brain power and enable you to make massive cognitive gains. By teaching your child to read at home, you will be performing the most important task a parent can perform, and your child will love you for it. I have spent the last 40 years researching and writing about literacy and how it affects the brain. I have learned that the key to increased brain power is language, and that language power is acquired through phonetic reading, that is, through the alphabetic phonics manner. What is brain power? It is the ability to use this magnificent and mysterious organ in your head in the most effective, productive, creative, and rational way possible. Your brain, in fact, is more powerful than the most complex computer made by man. We are all born with this extraordinary organ, which governs everything that goes on in our bodies. Although the brain is composed of organic matter, it is also the source of our spiritual life. By spiritual, I mean all of those aspects of life that cannot be measured or touched: your ideas, your dreams, words, language. None of these have physical existence, yet they are as important to your existence as all of the physical components of your bodies. They exist in our minds, and through the use of written language, we can put them on paper. Indeed, it is the faculty of language which is the source of a human being's spiritual power. Since the key to brain power is language, and the key to language power is reading, it is vital that one learns to read in the most effective manner possible, that is, by alphabetic intensive phonics. I specify alphabetic intensive phonics because written English is a sound symbol system in which our alphabet letters stand for the sounds of the language. The brain, as we all know, is divided into two hemispheres. The left hemisphere is the seat of our language function. All human beings are born with this language faculty which permits us to develop speech. The right hemisphere is the seat of the visual function. It is where we develop art, design, perspective, architecture, and visionary functions. When written language first consisted of cave drawings, which were then followed by more complex hieroglyphics and Chinese ideographs, the right brain was used to translate them into language. Thousands of these ideographs had to be memorized in order to become a proficient reader. But when the alphabet was invented, all of that changed. The inventor of the alphabet had discovered that human language consisted of only a small number of irreducible language sounds. In English, only 44. And he created a set of symbols to represent those sounds. Thus was created a phonetic way of writing and reading. The invention of the alphabet did for the ancient world what the computer has done for the modern world. You could now do much more with much less. The result was a massive gain in knowledge. Therefore, in order to become a proficient reader who loves to read, You will have to learn the letters of the alphabet and the sounds the letters stand for. In English, as we noted, we have 26 letters that stand for the 44 sounds of our language. Therefore, all of this must be taught in a simple or as simple and rational way as possible. My reading program, Alpha Phonics, does just that. I wrote it so that anyone could teach anyone else to read English easily and correctly. Why is that so important? It is because most of our public schools teach children to read by the whole word or sight method that de-emphasizes the phonetic character of our writing system. This method of teaching has a very undesirable consequence. It diminishes brain power and produces the very opposite of what is required to increase the power of the brain. As I've said, our brains are divided into two lobes, the left and the right. The left lobe is the site of our language faculty. Every human being learns to speak a language because of that built-in language faculty. It is the source of that spiritual entity called the Word, a sound symbol that is used by everyone to describe reality. How organic matter creates an immaterial spiritual phenomenon is the great mystery of human life. If you are a reader of the Bible, it may remind you of what John wrote in his gospel, quote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God," unquote. Thus, the left brain is more than the source of language. It is also the source of our spiritual being. The right lobe deals with space, vision, measurement, and all of the faculties used in art, design, construction, perspective, architecture, etc. These two sides of the brain work harmoniously together when each performs its own functions. But when teachers teach children to read by the whole word or sight method, in which the phonetic character of our written language is ignored, they are requiring the student to use the right brain to perform the functions of the left brain. And this leads to a dysfunction of the brain. In other words, one cannot use the right brain to perform a language function without causing impairment in the brain itself. And this has been proven by brain scans of children with reading disabilities. Our alphabetic writing system is an instrument that enhances the language power of the brain. As we stated, the key to brain power is language development, and the key to language power is reading by the alphabetic phonetic method. Indeed, as the French neuroscientist Stanislas Dehaene writes in his book, Reading in the Brain, quote, when children learn to read, their brains will never be the same again, unquote. Thus, how we learn to read will determine how our brains will function for the rest of our lives. If we are taught to read by intensive phonics, our brains will increase in power and expand our language faculty. If we are taught by the look-say or sight method, our brains will become deformed and unable to function at its optimum power. We will be handicapped for the rest of our lives. Thus, it is extremely important to be taught to read in the correct phonetic manner. In this series of videos, I will teach you to read in the proper phonetic way using the program I created, Alpha Phonics. If you are a parent, it will show you how to teach your child to read at home. If you are watching this video in a non-English speaking country, you will be able to learn English in the easiest and most effective way possible. So let us start. We start with the alphabet. Now, what is the alphabet? It is an ingenious tool that permits us to break up language into its separate sounds. When children learn to speak their language, they are not aware that all of the sounds they speak can be broken down into separate speech sounds. The inventor of the alphabet was able to do that. Why did he do it? He did it to make it easy to transcribe a spoken language into a written form. Take, for example, the simple word bat. It is actually composed of 3 sounds. They are b, a, t. We use alphabet letters to stand for those 3 sounds: bat, b, a, t, t. We spell it B-A-T. The ability to actually hear those 3 sounds separately is called phonemic awareness. Spelling means naming the letters in a word in their correct sequence. Before the alphabet was invented, man used pictures or symbols to stand for words. The word bat was represented by a picture of a bat. But since our words also express action, feelings, and ideas, pictures were a very cumbersome way of writing language. It required creating thousands of pictures which did not look like the ideas and actions they were representing and were difficult to remember. The invention of the alphabet greatly simplified writing because the inventor discovered that language was not composed of thousands of separate sounds, but in English, only 44 sounds. So if you could create a set of symbols representing those 44 sounds, you would have a much less to memorize and be able to easily write thousands of words. As I said, our alphabet is composed of 26 letters that stand for the 44 sounds of the English language. Now, how did this happen? When the Romans conquered the British Islands, they brought with them their Latin alphabet. They imposed the Latin alphabet on the language being spoken there, and the English scribes were able to adapt the Latin alphabet to create their own written language. Did they do a good job? I believe they did. For by using this alphabetic system, English writers have been able to produce the world's greatest literature. The works of Shakespeare have been translated virtually into every language on earth. Why? Because they are the greatest dramas ever produced by a human being. Indeed, English has become a world language because so many British and American scientists and writers have produced the world's most important works of science, economics, and commerce. And that is why so many people all over the world want to learn English. They know that by learning English, they are increasing their brain power and enhancing their opportunities for a fulfilling career. So let us start with the alphabet. It can be easily learned as a rhyming poem. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, I, J, K, LMNOP, QRS, TUV, WXYZ. If you will notice, the letter W is on a line all by itself. Why? Because it has 3 syllables. All the other letters are composed of single syllables. What is a syllable? A syllable is a unit of sound with 1 vowel sound in it. Now you know the names of the letters, and now we can begin learning the sounds that the letters stand for. In Lesson 1 of Alpha Phonics, we introduce 5 consonant letters and 1 vowel letter. Our language sounds are divided into 2 kinds, vowels and consonants. In English, the vowel sounds are represented by the letters A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. The rest are known as consonants. The different vowels in English are pronounced by changing the way we form our lips so that the air flowing out of our mouths can change in sound. Our vocal cords produce language sounds. These marvelous instruments permit us to speak and sing at different pitches. Some individuals are born with vocal cords that can produce the sublime sounds of music. We less gifted individuals are happy that we can use our vocal cords to express any word in our language very clearly. In Lesson 1, we introduced the one vowel sound, the short A, and the 5 vowel letters that stand for 5 consonant sounds, M, N, S, T, and X. The letter A stands for the A sound, as in cat. A, as in cat. The letter M stands for the sound, as in man. The letter N stands for the N sound, as in net. The letter S stands for the S sound, as in set. The letter T stands for the T sound, as in tent. The letter X stands for the X sound, as in tax. Now, when we join the short A with M, we get the word am, A-M, am. When we join the short A with N, we get the word an, A-N, an. When we join the short A with S, we get as. That is A-S. Now that is what we call a short S. When we join the short A with T, we get at, A-T, at. When we join the short A with X, we get ax, ax, A-X. So now we can read those 5 2-letter words, am, an, as, at, and ax. They are all words we use every day. For example, I am feeling fine. I have an apple. He is as tall as she is. We are at the mall. Dad has an axe. In Lesson 2, we expand these 2-letter words into 3-letter words. We put the S in front of am, and we get sam, Sam, S-A-M, Sam. We put the M, in front of an, and we get the an, man, M-A-N, man. We then learn the sound of the letter H, which is the beginning sound of the words happy, hand, and hat. We then put the letter H in front of as, and we get H as has. H-A-S, has. We put the S in front of at, and we get s-at, sat, S-A-T, sat. Note that the S in Sam is a capital letter because Sam is a proper name. But we use a small or lowercase s for the word sat, S-A-T. We then put a T before ax, and we get the word tax, T-A-X, tax. That's a word that you will be using for the rest of your life. Now that we have learned to read the words Sam, man, has, sat, tax, we can go into lesson 3. In this lesson, we arrange all of the words we can read in their spelling families. Thus, under am, we have Sam. Under an, we have man. Under as, we have as. Under at, we have sat. And under ax, we have tax. The reason why we do this is so that we can learn to spell. And when we spell, we name the letters in a word in their proper sound sequence. So now we can actually read our first sentence. Sam sat. And our second sentence, Sam has an axe. At this point, I advise you to get a good cursive writing program so that you can learn to write English in cursive. By writing in cursive, you will learn to spell better than if you just print the letters. In cursive, the letters are connected from left to right. They are written from left to right. They are joined from left to right. The proper direction in which the sounds of the word are spoken. You will be able to see where one word ends and another begins. By writing the words, you will progress faster and more correctly in reading, or accurately in reading. And accuracy is very important. Also, make sure you hold the pen in the correct way. Otherwise, your hand and fingers will tire easily. If you hold the pen correctly, you will be able to write for hours without tiring. And this is the way we hold the pen with the 3 fingers. In lesson 4, we learn the sounds of 2 more letters, D and W. If we add the letter D to the short A, we get add, A-D, add. If we place the D before add, we get d-add, dad, D-A-D, dad. If we place the W before ax, we get the word wax, wax, W-A-X, wax. If we place the D before an, we get the name Dan, D-A-N, Dan. And now we can read 2 more sentences. Dan sat, Dad has wax. In lesson 5, we expand our spelling families. Note that the as-has spelling family we have the word was. That in the as-has spelling family, we have the word was. Was is pronounced was, not was. There is no word in English pronounced was. This is the kind of irregular sounds we have in English, usually a variant of a vowel sound. You should be able to read all the words in this lesson since they consist of only letters you have already learned. If it is slow going, take your time and repeat the words until you can read them fluently. In Lesson 6, we use these words in short sentences. A sentence is a complete thought. The first word in a sentence should always be capitalized. Also note the punctuation at the end of the sentences. There are periods and question marks. When the sentence asks a question, we ended with a question mark. In Lesson 7, we add the letter D to the word and we get a new word. The word is and, A-N-D. Then, if we place the letter H before and, we get hand, H-A-N-D. Now we introduce the letter L, which stands for the initial sound in such words as lad, lab, lag, lap. If we place the letter L in front of and, we get, you guessed it, land. If we place the letter S in front of and, we get sand. The rest of the lesson is comprised of short sentences using the words we have just learned. In Lesson 8, we learn the sounds of consonant letters L, B, C, G, F, and J. In lowercase, they are L, B, C, G, F, and J. By now, you should be able to easily analyze the sounds in each three-letter word. In Lesson 9, we learn the sounds of consonant letters P, R, T, V, W, Y, and Z. In lowercase, they are P, R, T, V, W, Y, and Z. In Lesson 10, we list all of the words learned thus far in their spelling families. Note that in the as spelling family, the words bass, lass, and pass end with double S. The double S spelling indicates that the S is pronounced in its hard sound. S. In as and has, the S is pronounced in its soft sound, its soft form, almost like Z. The word gas is pronounced with a hard S. Always use a word in the way it is pronounced in common speech, regardless of its spelling. If you want to be understood by others, you have to pronounce a word in the way that it is commonly spoken. And as we all know, accents vary in different regions. The accent in the American South is known as a drawl. In the Northeast, it varies between New York and northern New England. The beauty of English, however, is that it is spoken on all consonants with a variety of accents, but the spelling is usually the same in all countries, with slight variations in spelling between the United States and England. English language newspapers in non-English speaking countries are usually written in what is called Standard English, and thus can be read by anyone who can read English. Note that in Lesson 10, you can make up your own sentences. You have verbs, words connoting action, verbs such as can, has, was, add, ran, am, had, and more that would make interesting and amusing sentences. In Lesson 11, we learned the CK spelling form that stands for the same sound as K, K. Many common words are spelled with CK, back, jack, pack, etc. We also are introduced to the QU spelling form that has the sound of KW, as in the word quack, quack, Q-U-A-C-K. In Lesson 12, we learn that the letter A by itself is also a word meaning one. Its pronunciation varies from AY to UH, that is A to depending on how it is used. Thus, you might say, I have a hat, or I have a hat. Both are correct. In Lesson 13, that particular lesson is comprised of sentences using words already learned. Lesson 14 is a general review of every combination of consonants and short A, the purpose of which is to increase the speed of word recognition. The aim is to become a fluent reader, and drill in the letter sounds and their combinations will help you get there. However, if you feel like proceeding further without the drill, feel free to do so. The beauty of Alpha Phonics is that you can always go back to a previous lesson if you feel the need to review it. In Lesson 15, we learn the rest of the short vowels. A, E, I, O, U, those are the long vowels. The short vowels are A, E, I, as in bad, bed, bid, bob, bud, or bag, beg, big, bog, bug. When I was going to school, we were taught to say the short vowels, In Lesson 15, there are 18 examples of one-syllable short vowel words demonstrating their contrasting sounds. For example, bed and bid, or beg and big, or pen and pin, or set and sit, pat and pot, tick and tock, hem and him, log and lug, knot and nut, ham and hum, etc. As you can see, the slight variation in vowel sound can make words with totally different meaning. Yet our ears are attuned to distinguishing between these different vowel sounds. In Lesson 16, we concentrate on one-syllable short E words in their spelling families, such as ed, bed, fed, led, ned, red, ted, wed, or el, bell, sell, del, fell, gel, sell, tell, well, and yell. As you can see, it is easy to expand your vocabulary, that is your reading vocabulary, by learning the words in their spelling families. As you will notice, some words sound alike but have different meanings, as in sell, spelled with a C, and cell, spelled with an S. Cell, C-E-L-L, refers to a prison cell or an organic cell. Sell, S-E-L-L, refers to an economic trade or exchange. We call such words homonyms. They sound alike but have different meanings and spellings. Lesson 17 is comprised of sentences with short E words. Take the time to read all of the sentences and write them in cursive. By writing them, you will be learning to spell them. Note that each sentence begins with a capital letter and that it ends with a period or question mark. Lesson 18 provides the learner with every sort of combination of consonants with a short E. Some are nonsense syllables, but many of these nonsense syllables will turn up later in multisyllabic words. This is good phonetic practice. In Lesson 19, we concentrate on short I words in their spelling families. See how it expands your reading vocabulary. We also introduce the PH spelling form, which stands for the F sound, as in the name Phil, P-H-I-L. Lesson 20 is comprised of sentences with short I, short A, and short E words. Read them and then write them in cursive, which will help you learn to spell them. Lesson 21 introduces the TH spelling form. This is known as a consonant digraft, that is, two consonant letters that stand for one sound. TH, as in the. As you know, we have 26 letters in our alphabet to stand for 44 sounds, and so sometimes we use two letters joined together to stand for one sound. By learning all of these common TH words, you will be able to make much more interesting sentences. Lesson 22 is comprised of sentences that include all of the TH words learned in Lesson 21. Many children enjoy reading these sentences because they are whimsical and include actions with pets they can visualize. Read all of these sentences and write them in cursive so that you can learn to spell all of the new words. That is, have your child write them in cursive. By doing so, you are using your eyes, your hands, your brain, and your ears in this learning process. It's very important for the child to be using eyes, ears, and hands. As Stanislas Dehaene has pointed out, phonetic reading leads to massive cognitive gains that uses all of your senses coordinated by the brain. In Lesson 23, we concentrate on short O words in their spelling families, as in ox, box, fox, lox, pox. Note that in the on, don, ron spelling family, the words sun, ton, and one are pronounced as if the O was a short U. Sun, ton, and one. As in, but note that wonton, the Chinese soup, is pronounced with its regular short O. Wonton. Lesson 24 is comprised of sentences including all of the letter sounds learned thus far. Read them all and write them in cursive. In Lesson 25, we introduce the letter S used to make plurals, as in cats, C-A-T-S. The ES in making plurals with words ending in double S, as in kisses, K-I-S-S-E-S, and boxes, B-O-X-E-S. And the apostrophe S, that is apostrophe S, to denote ownership, and in such words as Bob's dog or Jill's pet. Lesson 26 is comprised of sentences incorporating what has been learned in Lesson 25. Read all of them and write them in cursive. In Lesson 27, we concentrate on short U words in their spelling families. Note the irregular words in the cull, dull, gull families. That is, words such as bull, full, and pull. Also in the but, cut, hut family, we have put with its own vowel sound. Put, a word used in golf, is pronounced with a regular short U. Lesson 28 is comprised of sentences with everything that has been learned thus far, all of the short vowels and all of the consonants in the English language. In Lesson 28A, which is comprised of syllable words with B's and D's, we learn to distinguish between those two letters because some beginning readers find them confusing. However, if you have been writing all of the words in cursive, you will not be confused by a B or a D. In manuscript or print script, these two letters look very much alike, but in cursive they are quite distinctive. The hand does not confuse them, since in cursive, a B starts like an L and the D starts like an A. The hand's knowledge is transferred to the brain.